This is an introductory, very basic introduction to the interface of Premiere. Let's go into Premiere. I'm going to type in Premiere in my little search here. And it might be in your dock. It'll be PR. So this little symbol will look like that, the icon. And it will bring it up. You're going to come to the start screen here. And we're going to actually open a new project. I'm going to call this Practice My Last Name. Now at this point you may want to browse and go to your device. Okay, you may want to do that. You may even want to go into a special folder you created. Okay, so you can do that. I'm not going to do that actually. I'm just going to save it to my documents. Now at this point you could change your scratch disk over to your device as well. This is kind of the processing files, the temporary files. You can choose a different graphics card if you have one here. Okay, but I'm just going to simply press OK. Okay, and at this point you see the interface. Let's bring in some footage before we look at the interface. I'm going to go to File, Import. You can also simply drag footage into this area. I have footage on my desktop in the Practice folder, in the Leela Bath Time folder. I'm going to grab everything in here by clicking Command A. It grabbed everything, including this audio files folder that I'm going to keep in a separate folder. I'm going to now import that. It's going to process. Now remember, these are reference files. The program Premiere is going to be pulling from those reference files. So you have to have access to those original video files because it's not going to bring them in to create new files specifically for Premiere. So the program file, the Premiere file, is going to be very, very small. Unlike iMovie that does pull the files in, creates new files somewhere, a library to draw from, and the actual program file in iMovie is very big. It's actually a folder of your original footage, your media assets, etc. Here, this is pulling from somewhere. So always have that, your device connected, or you put the files, the video files, the audio files on the desktop somewhere. You always will need to have those separate. Okay, so you see all these here. And in class, what I ask you to do at this point is to watch these and rename them. Okay, but let's take a look at the interface. Notice what I can do here. I can drag parts of the frame of the interface, just like with other Adobe products, and I can make them bigger and smaller. If I double click on, say, my first video here, by the way, you can change this to list view if you want to see this all in a list. Okay, and you see that they are ordered numerically, or rather alphabetically here, and so the first one here is this one. Okay, you're not hearing it because I have my earphones on. I'm going to do that.
Is it time for bath?
Okay, and so if you wanted to rename that, by the way, this is the raw footage, the source monitor is what this is called. You can just gently click here somewhere. You might want to do something like 1A to retain the order, the original order these clips appear. Leela pre-bath. Press enter. It goes right on to the next one. By the way, ideally you watch the whole thing, or at least scrub through it, which is when you drag that time indicator. Okay, so just in case there's no surprises, there could be something at the end. That's a cute close-up. Maybe I want to use that for the title. You might do that as the editor. Okay, double click on the next one.
Someone's ready to go.
So I watched the whole clip. I'm going to name that 1B. Shower curtain. Okay, now I do want to call your attention to something at the beginning of that clip. Watch this beginning part. Do you see that shakiness of the camera there? That's what I would call a production setup or framing of the shot, right? It's the setup portion of the shot. So that's a vocabulary term in the tutorial packets, the page packets of literal hard copy pages I gave you. That's the part of the shot you don't want to use. Okay, so ideally be really tight just as the hand appears. By the way, you can use your arrow keys on your keyboard to get frame by frame scrubbing. Okay, so right before the hand comes into the frame, I'm going to do the letter I. Okay, and that's going to be the part of the clip I want to use. And then right now, I believe in the original we do see her briefly. Okay, so I'd have to look back at the preview, which is here, to see what part of the clip I would want to use. If I want to mimic this exactly, which is what you want to do. We don't actually see her there. Okay, you would want to do it there. Right, but anyway, don't use the production setup part where the shot's being set up as part of the shot. Try to get it after. Go very specifically, tightly to where you want, right before the hand enters or the person comes into frame or wherever. But just be careful. Don't make your audience seasick by having a lot of extra frames of things that are kind of the setup portion. Okay, so let's say we were done renaming everything. And here we have, we know we want to use the part where she's walking into the bathroom, right? And so we would find that clip. But let's just go on to the shower one. So let's say then that I just want... So let's say I want about right there. Can judge by her shadow. And then I do the letter O. So I did the letter I for here on your keyboard for the in part, the in point of your shot, and the letter O for the out point. You're going to click in the actual source monitor, the video there, click, hold it down, drag it to the timeline, and then you're going to let it go. What's going to happen down here is that it's going to create a timeline with your first clip. Okay, sometimes you get a message here that says that the clip does not match the current settings. This is the message you'll get, and you definitely want to change the sequence to match the clip settings because the clip has the format you want. Okay, the ratio, the screen ratio, the frame rate, everything. So yes, you do want to change that. The first clip dictates the video settings of the timeline in the eventual video you're making, perhaps. You can change it, you can transcode it, change it into something else, some other format. But the first clip usually sets it up for every clip to follow. Okay, so now we have the clip on the timeline. Notice you can use this really neat scroll bar to collapse the timeline a bit, or to expand it so you can see better all the clips, or you can use the plus and minus keys on your keyboard to do that really nice feature. Okay, because you might wonder, well, why are my clips there? I can only see one clip. Where's the rest of the timeline? Well, you can actually expand it, or zoom out basically, or zoom in, which is really nice. Notice too that this is the video clip and this is the audio portion. Okay, you can come over here and drag it down so you can see the waveform. Okay, this is the volume line here. Okay, I'm going to even make this bigger so you can see that. By the way, you don't really want to play with volume. Once you start doing audio editing, you want to play with G, gain. Go click on the letter G. You don't want to play with volume right off the bat. You want to play with audio gain, G. You get audio gain, this box, by clicking the letter G, or you can right mouse button into this and see the audio gain is one of the options. Okay, and you can click 5, let's say. Notice how this is going to jump. Or you can click something like -5 or type in -5 and that will go down. Okay, so waveform, that's important to correct that before you correct the volume here using that. Okay, so you see the audio channels here, 2 audio channels making up 1 audio track. Okay, video track. And notice there's rooms for other video tracks. If you want to have multiple layers, titles, let's say, you'd put on their own video track. You might want to superimpose clips on top of one another. Or if you use split screen, they would also be on top of each other. You're looking down into the stack. Okay, so if we have another clip here, say I put here, I don't know what's in this clip, but let's say I did put that over top. Okay, and then I played with this, the opacity. Okay, you would look down and be able to see both clips at once. Okay, so it's a shower curtain, and then it's also the cabinet getting the soap out. Okay. By the way, if you're not seeing that opacity line, or if you're not seeing the, this is called the envelope actually, this line that you play with, the audio envelope there, you can go into the wrench right here. I have this clicked currently. Okay, this also allows you to see the audio waveform. If that's disappeared, you can click that. Show audio keyframes. Okay, this disappeared because it was showing. I can check that now and it appears. Or if I want to click this, show video keyframes, and now it's disappeared. I can bring it back. That's a keyframe line. That's the envelope, right? So you make keyframes by doing command click, command click, or using the pen point tool. We'll come back to that, but that basically is where you want things to start and stop. So opacity, for instance, where you want something to change, basically the keyframes. It's kind of cool, but we'll play with that more later. I'm going to go back to the letter V, which is the select tool. You see all your tools here. And then I'm going to just click that one, and that's also clicking the, selecting the audio track for that clip. I'm going to click my delete key on the keyboard to delete it. Okay, important keys to notice here, important tools, the select tool, the razor tool, C for cut is the shortcut for that. See, that is the little symbol there, your cursor turns into a razor. The pen tool, letter P, just like in Illustrator and elsewhere in Adobe. Okay, there's the hand tool. We don't really use it that much because you can usually use your mouse pretty easily. The zoom tool, once again, we don't usually use that very much, or I find I don't. Okay, those are some of the tools you see. Select tool is letter V. Here are your audio meters over here. We really don't want that to happen unless it's just very briefly for a thunderclap or something, for it to go to red like that. We want it to stay within this range, especially for audio, for human language, human speech. And the -12 maybe slightly above, because computer speakers are often really low quality, so it's good to have a little bit louder than -12, but definitely not over -6 decibels. Notice how 0 is the top, and then they go to the negative range. Okay, so -12, slightly above, into -6 is the range we want for dialogue or sound bites, human speech. Okay, let me call your attention to this. One thing that's really neat, let's say, whoops, I didn't get enough right after I moved the shower curtain there. You could just simply grab the edge and then drag it out. Okay, that's a really neat little thing there. Or you can drag it in, right? Again, you can use the arrow keys to go frame by frame. If you want to go frame by frame, all right? It's a good idea to have a little gap here between this and the edge. You don't have, because you can always later, when you go to export it, do letter I for endpoint. That's where you want to start exporting, and then letter O for out point on your timeline itself, which is really neat. This up here is your program monitor. That is the movie you're making. Okay, and let me call your attention to this really neat new feature in these recent versions of Premiere. You have different buttons here showing basically different interface arrangements. Okay, of course, all these panels and windows, that's the interface. It's the look of Premiere Pro, the software, right? But they allow you to go into, if you want to edit audio specifically, if you want to get the effects to be sort of prioritized, they will move the panels around depending on what button is pressed. Okay, if you want to do some color correction, it's really quite nice. This is relatively new. This is your go-to panel, especially for this introductory class, the editing button. If you don't have these buttons here, all you have to do, this is important, go into Window, Workspaces, and here they are. If it doesn't look like this, you may want to check this one, Reset to Saved Layout. Okay, and that should return you to the normal layout. Okay, important thing as we eventually get to effect controls, talking about resizing your image. Let's say you want to reframe it a little bit. You can go into effect controls. This might be twirled up, a motion tab, twirl it down to see your scale. Okay, which is really nice if you want to reframe don't usually go by 150 unless you have 4K footage, okay, because you're going to lose some video resolution, some video quality. And if you want it to move around, if you want to do split screen or something, you can move it around. You can always undo, or you can reset using this little handy dandy reset parameter, which is really nice. Okay. You see some other things here that are useful. Okay, and that is nested in with your preview or source monitor, we call it. Okay, here is the projects panel. These should be your folders, your video footage and your audio folder there. Okay, media browser will be your computer. Okay, it's actually taking you to show you what, just like we had with Bridge, right? You can see, what's on my computer through the browser. It's not necessarily what's being pulled in right now to Premiere, but it's showing you everything else. And then if you scroll through these tabs, things nested in with that project tab, you have a very important tab, the effects tab. And here you're going to see video transitions. Some of you are very interested in those. Video effects, there's not that many. It looks like a lot, but it really isn't. And you have some audio effects and Lumetri presets. This is color correction, which is great. And other presets, which you can bring more presets in as plugins. By the way, other ways to get some simple transitions, you can do some keyboard shortcuts, right? So if we go back to our project panel, okay, and bring in another clip. Let's say we want Leela there. She's so cute. So we want to do a nice dissolve with her. Oh, that clip's rather long, so I'm going to just do a letter O, and it's going to grab everything from the beginning. All right, I think I will pull this over. Okay, and I bring her. Oh, it's still pretty long. And to make sure those are butting together. A good thing to have on is snapping to make sure they touch side by side. You don't want any flash frames in between those two clips. Okay, so they snap together. If you have this highlighted, you do Command D. It's going to do, look at that, a nice little cross dissolve. Watch what happens.
Your color's up.
Really nice.
Color's up.
You can also do an audio transition. You can come up here to sequence, apply audio transition, and notice this is Shift Command D. Okay.
Color's up.
So you can also do Shift Command D, and it gives you the audio,
Color's up.
default audio transition, which is a
Color's
dissolve.
up.
Right?